I planned my best friend's divorce while he was sleeping with my wife. Owen and I had been friends since we were 19, met freshman year in the dorms, ended up being roommates sophomore through senior year, stood next to each other at both our weddings. The kind of friendship people describe as brotherly because there isn't a better word for it. We talked about everything. Money, problems, health scares, the ugly stuff most men don't say out loud. 21 years of that. When Owen's marriage started falling apart 3 years ago, I was the first person he called. His wife Diane had apparently been unhappy for a long time and had finally said she was done. He was blindsided, or at least that's the version I got. He showed up at my house on a Tuesday night with a six-pack and red eyes, and I sat with him until 1 in the morning while he talked through the whole thing. For the next 8 months, I was fully in it with him. I drove him to the initial lawyer consultation because he said he couldn't focus well enough to drive himself. I helped him find an apartment and spent a weekend moving boxes. I let him eat dinner at my house 2 or 3 times a week because he said the apartment felt suffocating. My wife Carla was welcoming about it. She'd known Owen as long as I had. She'd set a place for him without me asking, ask how he was holding up, check in on him with genuine warmth. I remember telling her at the time that I was lucky to have a partner who understood what this friendship meant to me. The divorce finalized. Owen stabilized. He started dating someone new, got more settled in the apartment, came to dinner less frequently. Things returned to something like normal, and I didn't think twice about any of it. What broke everything open was a phone. 11 months after Owen's divorce was finalized, I found a phone in the glove box of our second car. A car Carla used occasionally, but mostly just sat in the garage. It was an older model, not one I'd ever seen. No case on it. Dead battery. I plugged it into the charger in the garage out of pure curiosity, not suspicion. We had a break-in on our street the previous month, and I thought maybe it had been left by someone at some point. It took a full charge before it turned on. The passcode was Carla's birthday, which she uses for everything. I want to be careful here about how I describe what I found, because even now, the specific details feel like they belong to some other man's life. But the short version is this. 2 years of messages between my wife and Owen. Not friendship, not comfort after his divorce. Something that had started before his marriage ended and had run alongside our friendship the entire time I was helping him through his separation. I was driving him to lawyers while they were together. I was letting him sit at my dinner table, watching him interact with my wife like she was just my wife, like I was just his good friend for months. I sat in the garage for a long time. Then I did something I'm still not sure I'd advise, but couldn't stop myself from doing. I went back through the messages slowly and built a timeline. Not because I wanted more pain, but because I needed to understand what was real and what wasn't. What parts of the last 2 years had been true and which parts had been a stage set. What I found was that Owen's marriage hadn't failed because Diane was unhappy. Diane had found out about Carla. She'd confronted Owen privately and told him she wanted a divorce on the condition he keep her out of it. No details, no public reason, just end it cleanly. She had her own reasons for not wanting it to become a thing, mostly involving protecting her kids from the specifics. So Owen had told me the version where he was the victim, and I had believed him and built him a soft place to land while the reason his marriage ended was sleeping in my bed. I called Owen from the driveway, didn't go inside first, didn't give myself time to reconsider. He picked up on the second ring, same voice he always had, completely normal. Hey man, what's up? I told him I'd found the phone, and I needed him to tell me the truth for once in the 21 years I'd known him. The silence lasted long enough that I counted it. Then he said he was sorry, said it had started as nothing and got out of hand, said he tried to end it twice and hadn't been able to, said he hated himself for it and had wanted to tell me but didn't know how, and the longer it went, the more impossible it felt. Said I was the best friend he'd ever had. I told him that last part was the most insulting thing he'd said yet. I hung up and went inside. My conversation with Carla was quieter than people might expect. I'm not a shouter, and I don't perform anger. I put the phone on the kitchen counter and told her I needed the truth, and that the only thing she could do at this point that would make anything worse was lie to me again. She told me most of it. Not all of it, I think, but enough. She said it had been over for almost a year, that she'd broken it off, and that was why Owen had gone quiet on the dinners. That was apparently what passing for an ending looked like from her side. I filed for divorce 4 months ago. I haven't spoken to Owen since that phone call. He's tried several times. A long voicemail around Christmas that I listened to once and deleted. A letter that arrived in March that I put in a drawer without opening. Mutual friends have told me he's not doing well, and I found that I have nothing to do with that information. Diane reached out once, briefly, to say she was sorry I'd been the last to know. I thanked her, and we left it there. She protected her kids and kept her dignity, and I couldn't find it in me to be angry at someone who had been running the same betrayal I had, just on a different clock. The thing about losing a marriage and a best friend at the same time is that there's nobody obvious to call. Every instinct I had for 21 years pointed toward Owen when something went wrong. I'd pick up the phone and get halfway through opening his contact before I remembered. He gave a toast at my wedding, talked about how I was the most loyal person he'd ever met, and how Carla was lucky to have someone who loved the way I did. I keep thinking about that speech and how he must have known, even then, what he was already doing.